You are not alone, I promise you this. Every storm will break and you'll feel bliss.
My father changed his will after I refused to attend his second wedding. Dear Tina, I don't even know where to start with this because it still feels like a knife in my chest every time I think about it. I just need to let this out somewhere and maybe hear from people who aren't directly involved because I feel like I'm drowning in all of this. My mom passed away 6 years ago. It was sudden, and it broke me in a way I can't even describe. She wasn't just my mother, she was everything. The heart of the family, the one who made the house feel alive. And when she was gone, there was this silence that just wouldn't go away. My dad, he kind of shut down too. For a long time, he barely talked, barely smiled, and I was grieving too, so I just thought, okay, we'll get through this together somehow. Then, barely a year and a half after she died, he tells me he's getting remarried. Just like that. To a woman I barely knew, someone named Diane. I remember just staring at him, thinking, what? Already? I felt like I hadn't even caught my breath from losing Mom, and here he was planning a wedding. It felt like she was being replaced, erased. I know people move on differently, I get that, but it felt like he was closing a chapter that I was still trapped inside of. The part that broke me was when he asked me to be there. He said he needed me at the wedding, that if I loved him, I would show up. But I couldn't. I couldn't stand there and watch him exchange vows with another woman, just 1 year after my mother, his wife, passed on. It made me sick to even imagine it. I told him I couldn't go, and that's when everything between us snapped. He looked at me like I was some kind of stranger. He called me selfish. He said Mom would have wanted him to move on. He said if I couldn't accept Diane, then maybe I didn't deserve to be part of his new family at all. I thought he was just angry in the moment, but I was wrong. I stayed home on his wedding day. I cried the entire time. I felt like I lost both parents that day. My mom was already gone, and my dad, he chose a new life that didn't have room for me in it. After that, he barely spoke to me. Weeks went by where the silence was louder than anything. And then I found out from my cousin that my dad had changed his will. The house I grew up in, the one my mom decorated, the one where every memory I have of her still lives. That house isn't for me anymore. It's for Diane. All the savings, the heirlooms, the things Mom cared about, it's all written over. I confronted him, and he didn't even flinch. He just said, if you can't accept Diane, then don't expect anything from me. Do you know how it feels to hear your own father say that? To basically tell you that your place in his life is conditional? That his love has strings attached? It broke me. Not because of money or property. I couldn't care less about that. It's the meaning behind it. It's the fact that he actually sat down with a lawyer and rewrote me out of his life because I didn't clap hard enough for his second chance at happiness. Ever since then, holidays are unbearable. Diane is always there, smiling, acting like she belongs, while I sit there feeling like an outsider in my own family. My dad doesn't ask me how I'm doing anymore. He doesn't ask about my struggles, my dreams, my life. I feel like he replaced me. Not just in his will, but in his heart. And the truth is, I don't know how to move on from this. Part of me wonders if I should have just gone to that wedding, even if it killed me inside, just to keep some sort of relationship with him. But another part of me feels like I would have been betraying my mom by doing that. I feel stuck between guilt and anger, between wanting my dad back and hating the man he's become. I keep asking myself, do I reach out, swallow my pride, and try to fix things even though he's the one who pushed me away? Or do I accept that maybe this is it, that maybe my father is gone, just in a different way than Mom. All I know is that I feel abandoned twice, once by death and once by choice, and I don't know how to heal from that. So, I'm asking you, what do I do, Christy?
You are not alone, I promise you this. Every storm will break and you'll feel bliss. Hold your heart, don't let it break. The world still waits for the love you made. When the sunrise feels slow to arrive, and hope is a whisper just keeping you alive, turn your face to gentle skies. There's morning waiting behind your eyes. All the grief you hold will ease someday. Let your tired soul find its own way. You are not alone, I promise you this. Every storm will break and you'll feel bliss. Hold your heart, don't let it break. The world still waits for the love you made.
My dear Christy, I want to start by saying this to you. Your pain is valid. The heartbreak you're carrying is real, and it makes perfect sense why you feel abandoned, betrayed, and torn in two. Losing your mother was already one of the hardest things you could go through. That kind of loss doesn't just heal with time. It leaves an empty space that changes everything. And then, on top of that, to feel like your father, the one person you thought you'd grieve alongside, turned and built a new life that pushed you to the side. It's no wonder you feel like you lost both parents. I want you to hear me clearly. You're not wrong for feeling devastated, confused, or even angry. Anybody in your shoes would be carrying those same emotions. Sometimes when people are grieving, they react in ways that don't line up with how the rest of the family is processing things. Your father's way of coping was to move forward quickly, to latch onto something that gave him comfort and maybe distracted him from his own pain. But your way of grieving was to hold onto your mom's memory and to protect that space in your heart. Neither way is wrong. But when two very different grief styles collide, one rushing forward and one holding on, it can create exactly the kind of rift you're describing. What hurts most is that instead of understanding your hesitation, your father interpreted it as rejection. And in his hurt, he made choices that cut you even deeper. Here's something important to remember. When people lash out with ultimatums, like your dad saying you wouldn't be part of his family unless you accepted his new wife, it usually comes from a place of fear and insecurity. It doesn't excuse the cruelty of the words, but it explains the root of them. He may have felt like he was losing your support, and instead of admitting his own vulnerability, he punished you for it. The will change is just another layer of that punishment. It wasn't only about money or property. It was his way of saying, if you won't embrace this life, then you don't belong in it. That's a devastating message for any child to hear, no matter how old you are. But here's the thing. His choices don't define your worth. They don't rewrite the love your mom had for you. They don't erase the memories you built in that house. And they certainly don't make you less than, because you couldn't force yourself to celebrate something that felt like a betrayal to your grief. You acted from a place of honesty. You stood by your truth. And while that came with painful consequences, it also shows your integrity. That's something to be proud of. even if it hurts right now. I know you're stuck in this heavy place of questioning yourself, wondering if you should have just swallowed the pain and gone to the wedding to keep peace. But let me say this. Pretending for the sake of keeping someone else comfortable would have been its own kind of slow death. It would have eaten away at you every time you looked at Diane, every time your father smiled at her, and every time you felt that tug inside that said, "This isn't fair to Mom's memory." The truth is, no path in this situation was painless. You chose the one that honored your mother and your heart, even though it cost you closeness with your father. That doesn't make you wrong. It makes you human. Now, let's talk about where you go from here, because living in this ache without a path forward will only keep you stuck. The first step is a shift in perspective, not to excuse what your father has done, but to see him through a lens that gives you some peace. Right now, you're looking at him as the dad who chose someone else over you. But another way to frame it is this: he is a broken man who didn't know how to carry his grief, so he clung to the first thing that made him feel alive again, even at the cost of alienating his child. That doesn't make his actions right. But it does mean his cruelty says more about his wounds than about your value. Sometimes holding on to that perspective softens the sting, even if it doesn't erase it. The second step is boundaries. If you're going to have any kind of relationship with your father moving forward, it has to be on terms that don't destroy you. That might mean saying to him, "Dad, I love you, but I can't pretend Diane replaces Mom. I can be respectful, but I can't erase my feelings." You don't need to convince him of your grief. You don't need to argue with him about the will. What you need is to carve out a space where you can show up without betraying yourself. That's what healthy boundaries are. They allow connection without self-destruction. Communication will be the next layer, and it doesn't have to be a big dramatic confrontation. Sometimes, small, steady attempts at rebuilding work better. Maybe it's a text on his birthday that says, "Thinking of you, Dad." Maybe it's asking about his health or his day without diving into the heavy stuff right away. Over time, those small gestures can rebuild a bridge that feels safer to cross. And when you do feel ready to talk more openly, you can use gentle but firm language, like, "Dad, I've been carrying a lot of hurt since the wedding. I don't want us to stay in this distance forever. I don't need you to erase Diane, but I do need to know that you still see me as your daughter." Those kinds of statements keep the focus on your feelings instead of attacking his choices, which makes him more likely to hear you. But while you're working on all this, please don't forget the most important part: taking care of you. You've been through a double loss, and you need to allow yourself space to grieve, to process, and to heal. That might mean journaling your feelings when they come up instead of bottling them. It might mean finding a trusted friend, or even a counselor, who can sit with you in the mess of it without judgment. It might mean setting aside time each week to do something that connects you back to joy. Something that reminds you that your life isn't just about surviving your father's rejection. You deserve to feel whole again, even if he never changes. And while you're working through all of this, I want you to be gentle with yourself. You've carried a double loss, the death of your mom, and then the sting of your father's choices. That's an enormous weight for anyone to bear. It's okay if you don't have all the answers right now. It's okay if some days you feel strong and other days you feel like breaking down. Healing doesn't follow a straight line. The real work ahead of you isn't about forcing your father to change. It's about protecting your heart, finding ways to grieve honestly, and creating peace within yourself no matter what he does. That might mean keeping a respectful but distant relationship with him. It might mean slowly rebuilding small connections on your own terms. Or it might mean accepting that his journey looks different from yours and that you don't have to sacrifice your own truth just to keep the peace. Please also remember this. Nothing your dad wrote in a will can erase who you are. You are still your mother's child. You are still worthy of love, respect, and a place to belong. That house may no longer have your name on paper, but every memory you carry, every laugh you shared, every hug she gave you, that's yours forever. That's your inheritance, one that no one can take away. And when the guilt creeps in, when you start to wonder if you should have just gone to the wedding, or if you made a mistake by standing your ground, I want you to remind yourself of this. You chose honesty. You chose to honor your grief and your mother's memory. That isn't selfishness. That's courage. That's integrity. And it means you can look back one day and know you didn't betray yourself just to make someone else comfortable. So take this one step at a time. Focus on what you can control, your healing, your boundaries, your peace. And whatever happens with your father, know this: you are not alone, and you are not unworthy. You're walking through something incredibly hard, but you're still standing. That in itself is a quiet kind of strength. And to my beloved community listening, have you ever been in a place where grief and family conflict collided in such a painful way? Have you had to deal with a parent moving on too quickly or being cut out of their plans because you didn't agree with their choices? If so, what helped you? What would you want this person to know if they were sitting in front of you right now? Your words might be the very thing that helps them take the next step toward healing. So please, share your experiences, your lessons, or even just your support in the comments. Let's make sure they know they don't have to walk through this pain alone. If this story spoke to you, I invite you to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you'll never miss the next heart-to-heart here on Heart Talks with Tina. Together we can grow a circle of understanding, hope, and healing. Thank you for spending this time with me today.
You are not alone, I promise you this. Every storm will break and you'll feel bliss. Hold your heart, don't let it break. The world still waits for the love you made. When the sunrise feels slow to arrive, and hope is a whisper just keeping you alive, turn your face to gentle skies. There's morning waiting behind your eyes. All the grief you hold will ease someday. Let your tired soul find its own way. You are not alone, I promise you this. Every storm will break and you'll feel bliss. Hold your heart, don't let it break. The world still waits for the love you made.